attention. My name is Jack Andrus. I'm a member of the Cumberland Head Taxpayer Association, also the president. We've been in existence, Cumberland Head Taxpayer Association, been in existence about a year. And we thought that it would be worthwhile to sponsor an informational session with New York State Electric and Gas. And I want to put out some personal thanks to some people who are members of the Cumberland Head Taxpayer Association first. And that is Kenny and Bob Cook, who helped us distribute over 500 flyers over the weekend. Debbie and Rocky Blake, Craig Hogue, Bruce LaValle, Cheryl Matthews, Craig Matthews, Bill Plimpton, Ducky Drake from Wiry, he put some information out there. James Gray, he's sitting over there on the table. And we have with us two representatives from NYSEG. Marilyn Keis-Hartunian, who is gracious enough to be up here today from Binghamton.
No,
It's quite a drive.
Clifton Park.
Clifton Park. I thought you were in, okay.
That's okay.
You're moving around now. And Bill Horner, who's the engineering
Local gas planner.
local gas planner. So these are the two people that are going to be involved in answering your questions. What we'd like to do is have some structure to this. I know your time is valuable, so is ours. We'd like to be out of here like by 3 o'clock this afternoon, hopefully. Marilyn and Bill will do the presentation in terms of what NYSEG is doing currently. And then we're going to open up to questions and answers. So if you can hold your questions, I know there's a lot of them, until they finish their presentations. And if anybody has need for facilities, there's a bathroom here in that room. There's also a bathroom right there. They're unisex bathrooms. And we also have Channel 5 here, Heather and her crew. So we're glad to see them here as well. Also, what they're filming right now, this is our website, Cumberland Head Taxpayer, CumberlandHeadTA.org. That is our website for this organization. We have roughly 60 members right now. We're looking to grow the organization, and the purpose of the organization is to be a spokesperson for all of you who are taxpayers in the town of Plattsburgh. In the past year, we have found a number of issues with the town of Plattsburgh expenditures or accounting, etc., etc. We think that they need an organization like Cumberland Head Taxpayer Association monitoring their activity and their expenditures, as well as promoting for all of us out here in the town, as well as Cumberland Head, issues like natural gas and any other issues that come our way. My deep belief is that if we're organized, and we have an organization like this, standing organization, that has committees such as marketing, such as membership, etc., etc., when issues come up that you need to respond to, that are collectively involving all of us, there will be an organization that you can turn to and say, we need some help on this because everybody's being affected. So that's why we're here. Cumberland Head Taxpayer Association, Inc. We are incorporated. We are a business. And we will soon, also, I'll throw this in, we're very soon going to be doing a change of name to the Taxpayer Alliance of Plattsburgh, so that we incorporate the entire town and all the residents in the town of Plattsburgh to give representation to the issues that we're being faced today in this fiscal crisis that you call the economy. However, let's turn it over to NYSEG, and this, you want to lead it on?
Yeah,
Meryl?
sure. Okay. Well, thank you for inviting Bill and I here today. I think the reason we were invited is because there seems to be a lot of interest in natural gas here. In fact, in Plattsburgh in general, a lot of people are calling NYSEG now because they want natural gas. The price of natural gas is pretty inexpensive and compared to some other fuels. So We had a meeting with the Public Service Commission here in December. It was a hearing because we had a request from a fairly large customer, Novabus. They want to install CNG, compressed natural gas. And so as a result of that hearing and the questions that we received at that hearing, we are surveying our customers to see what the interest is here. And we've, again, as a result of Novabus's interest in natural gas, we've asked for approval from the PSC to expand our, what we call, limited franchise. We have a limited franchise means that we are only able to put natural gas in the areas where the Public Service Commission has approved us to put the natural gas in. And a lot of that is because of, say, environmental concerns. They won't grant us, you know, a large area. We have to basically, even if a town approves a franchise, we have to go to the Public Service Commission to have their blessing as well. So right now, we put a survey out to see what the interest is. And would you mind raising your hand if you received the survey? Okay. All right, so I guess I'll ask, is anybody here that didn't get a survey? Okay, all right, so we can set something up there later if you want to be surveyed and return the survey. We can figure that out. Okay, can I ask you how many responded to the survey by raising your hand? Okay, let's ask, do you mind raising your hand if you didn't respond? Yeah. Okay, so a few of you may still have questions. All right, and please note that if you responded to the survey or if you didn't respond to the survey, you're not going to be held against the wall if you said yes. You know, there's still opportunities. You don't have to, you know, put natural gas in if you filled out the survey, but there's other procedures once we review the surveys. So Bill and I were actually in a meeting yesterday, some gas training out in Oneonta, and I heard there at the meeting that, you know, we are getting a huge response to the survey, which means I believe that, you know, people are really interested in natural gas. And I think, you know, one of the reasons is, you know, if you got the survey, you saw that, you know, natural gas is, we show roughly a third of some of the other fuels. And of course that does change depending on how large of a user you are. But natural gas is inexpensive. It's also, we have a good supply of natural gas. So I think that has a lot to do with the interest in natural gas right now. So I think after the survey is done, you know, our people will be reviewing that and reviewing areas that there are large concentrations of interest, and then decide from there where to go next. Let's see. I think what was that? Right, so why, when? Okay. So, trying to think what.
If you'd like, just a few generalities as far as what's going to happen out here. We tried to bring gas out here in 2008. We came very close, but we didn't quite have enough interest out there. We are governed by the PSC, Public Service Commission, by tariff that explains what we can and cannot do, basically relating to how much money we can spend per person, so that we, one, protect the existing ratepayers so you don't see gas prices going up, basically limits any bad decisions on businesses or business decisions on our part. But basically it boils down to, as a residential customer, which we primarily are out here on the head, is every person is entitled to 100 foot of main extension. There are service allowances and things of that sort. None of that matters until we can figure out a way to get the gas main onto the head. We cannot give any more, and the state also guarantees that we will not be giving any less. That is the magic number. So the biggest fight that we've always had is that long access road into the head. The Cumberland Head itself is plenty dense enough to support gas pipe with the 100-foot rule. It's to get enough to bring all the way of that long stretch with no customers that's always fought against us. We came very close in 2008, but we couldn't make it work. Once you cannot make it work for free, then we introduce surcharges. Well, if everyone pays us a little bit of money, then we can still build it. Well, then one or two people drop off, say, I don't want to pay, I'll just wait for the other people to pay, and then it'll come through for free. Well, then as soon as they drop out, the price goes up. A few more people say no, and then next thing you know, we have 4 people still interested. With oil prices the way they are, we've seen a lot of interest starting roughly around November of last year. That's the reason we started pushing this incentive again and asking around if people wanted it. And while I was invited to this 5 or 6 person meeting, that seems to have grown just a smidge. But that's okay.
50 or 60.
Decimal places get me every time. But it's the same. We still have the same rules. We're still governed by the same tariff. It has not changed since 2008. It may or may not change in the future. There is a glut of natural gas in the entire Northeast. 80-some-odd% of Americans already heat with natural gas, so this isn't going to make a huge demand that's going to change anything nationally. New York State is interested in helping utilities expand gas to increase sales. It already is in most places. Most places are kind of saturated, being surrounded by mountains. We're kind of late, and we don't even get ours from downstate. Ours comes in from Canada. Geography being the primary reason why we got here so late. We are trying to build out as we go. This particular project does always seem to be a sticking point, but more than willing to try and give it another go. It will take approximately 200 some odd people, which I've heard varying reports. I wasn't involved directly with the 2008 project because that was also the year that we hooked up 1,000 other customers and put in 80,000 feet of gas main, primarily through the town of Plattsburgh and village of Dannemora area. So it was a busy year. So we had other people taking care of the marketing of Cumberland Head, but I was told with 2 different reports that we were either shy 5 or 20 people. I'm guessing it's somewhere probably in between there. If we can get that kind of effort, again, with a few extra, I know there's been a few more houses built up. I also know Cumberland Head looks a little different. Connector Road seems for a little better. And I know there's a few more houses built up in the subdivision, because I know a few people who live in there. We have a better chance. Also, if we include the loads of like the firehouse, which theoretically would use much more than the average house, therefore we can count them larger. We can use their actual revenue versus just a house. The houses out in Cumberland Head do tend to be a little bit larger, but the 100-foot rule is actually quite generous. If you look at the revenue a house on a residential rate, generally won't equal the 100-foot, so we're better off with that. But businesses, by all means, we can use revenue, and especially if the school is interested. I believe those are the only 2 commercial, other than the store, that exist out here. But I'm from Peru, and I don't know the head as well as some of you guys, so if there's anything else that we can try to go after, definitely let me know.
Fair.
Could you explain a 100-foot?
Yeah.
What you mean by that? I mean, a lot of people aren't aware, I think. I'm not aware.
Okay, say you're out by Gus's, and you build a house, and it is within 100 feet of where the gas main ends. We will build that gas main for free. If you're 200 feet away, we will still build the first 100 feet for free. Now, you either need somebody else to sign up to get another 100 feet, because every person is entitled to 100 feet for free. After that, it becomes something billable. I'm legally not allowed to build any further, because then it starts hurting the existing ratepayers. So, again, it's not a business decision. It's nothing that could be negotiated. Well, a lot of people try. It is what is in the state tariff, and that is what I am mandated to give, no more or no less than.
What would it cost if you have to pay the additional 100 feet or 50 feet?
It is actual cost. It's not a per foot unit, say like electric, where you just say there's X amount of feet at X amount of rate. It's hard to say because typically digging is not good out here. But the town has had some projects, which I'm assuming after all the equipment and everything that they've done, that they would have brought nice sand and backfilled it, and it would be nice soft digging. If I can get permission to utilize that same trench, then actually the digging out here is now beautiful. At that point, you're looking at material, labor, contractors, inspections, everything else, somewhere between $22 to $25 a foot.
It's less than $3,000.
It's less than 3,000.
So $22 to $25 per foot.
Yes.
How deep do the mains go? What are the regulations?
Is this a county road or state road coming in? County. So you're looking roughly a little more than 2 feet.
What was the question?
The burial depth of the gas main?
Oh, that's what it was.
We're usually going to dig somewhere between 36 to 30 inches, put 6 inches of sand in, unless of course it is already sand backfill from whatever project went in. I don't remember if that was water or sewer.
Water.
I know the other one didn't
Sewer
go.
was the last one.
And so assuming we can get in that trench, we will dig down roughly 30 inches. I need to be legally 24. So it'd be very hard, very difficult to dig an exact trench. So we go a couple inches more to make sure that we're within our legal limit. Services would be a little bit shallower. We don't need to be below the frost line like water or sewer. So the frost does not affect us.
Is that the best way to go when you double trench like that, or put 2 services in one trench? If there's an issue, let's say with water or sewer, then somebody has to dig that up and replace the existing?
Well, the sewer's new, so replacement should not happen really in any of our lifetimes. The issue you have is, as other people build, you may want to tap into it. Because they're so deep, their trench was very wide. Where we're shallow, we can offset, step it as they call it, so we would not be directly over their facilities.
Okay.
Typically, we're looking at being 2 to 3 feet off the edge of pavement on the roadway, where if they're on the edge of the road, because of their depth, they had to dig down, they're going to be further back. So we can coexist in the same trench, but no, we should not be directly on top of it. If we do, we try to make a perpendicular or a 90-degree crossing to minimize the amount that we're over them, so that we do give them room to access their facilities if they have to maintain it and or hook up additional customers to it.
I'd like to correct that. I did say sewer was the last program. That was to put the sewer main from Cumberland Headquarters to the Shambling Park pump station. That was when you were going to lay your pipe at that point. So that was the last. But we do have water that goes around Cumberland Head as well, which was done, I think, 4 or 5 years, 2001.
Whatever was dug in would have been backfilled with sand. So if we can utilize either of those trenches or a combination of the two, we have the ability to zigzag, work with the town, whatever, make sure that their interest in their facilities are maintainable. I'm looking at probably a 4-inch polyethylene line. It's very flexible. It's very easy to install. Very minimal as far as driveway or road cuttings or any kind of disturbance that way. It will not be as offensive as the other facilities, mainly due just I don't need to be as deep and I won't be as large a pipe. So I can play well with others, fight well that way.
Would we still be responsible then to dig our own laterals up to the house like we did with the water? Or
You are not responsible to, but you're more than welcome to.
No, well, I didn't know we did.
How that works is assuming you're a heating customer.
Right.
You're also entitled to 100 feet of service, which a lot of people will confuse with the main. It's the same number, but basically once the main gets on your property,
Okay.
we will give you 100 feet to get to your house.
Okay.
If you're 500 feet off the road, which I myself am, then NYSEG wants a whole lot of money to get to your house.
Yep.
You have the option of digging your own trench, and we will send somebody out and roll the pipe in and inspect and monitor you backfilling it to make sure you're not putting big rocks on the gas main and things of that sort. And then that could be back into a free situation again with some labor on your part. You're not obligated to, but
But if you live within 100
more of the digging I have to do
feet
that
of
you
it-
want to do yourself.
Yeah, if
I'm
you
in favor
live
of
within
it.
100 feet of the water or the gas line, then you would do it for free.
Well, that confuses a lot of people, and it is definitely true, but it's actually a little better than that. It's to your property line. So if the main's on the other side of the road, you're not penalized for that.
Okay.
It starts at your property line where if it's a, say, a 50-foot road out here, 25 feet from the center line back is where your footage and your property line would start. That is where your 100 feet starts. We will cross the road. We will do anything basically in the public bounds for free.
Now, you did say a heating customer. What if somebody just wants to, their hot water and say their stove?
That changes regularly with different programs, but as of right now, there is no free allowances for anything other than heating customers.
Even the 100-foot main, or just for the hooking up the
As
house?
a gas customer, you're always entitled to the 100-foot of main.
Okay.
This pertains to only services. If you want a service, we will dig through the highway right-of-ways to still get to your property. But if you want to do all of that for a barbecue, you're going to have to dig your own trench or pay something. You know, it doesn't help the people in Champlain Park, but any heating appliance counts. It doesn't have to be your house furnace, so a space heater in your basement also counts. It has to be vented. So even fireplaces, vented fireplaces count. The non-vented ones do not count because they cannot be considered primary heat because of the oxygen sensors they can shut off. But any vented appliance can be considered heat, entitles you to the 100-foot service allowance. You know, it doesn't help Champlain Park because I don't believe there's a basin anywhere in that park. I think they're all on slabs. Then a space heater would qualify
I
you.
don't heat it.
You know, and really, to be honest, that's the sort of initiative that it's going to take is, you know, you may have to put an appliance in your house now, even if you're not, say, thinking about changing your primary heating system for a year or two. Because really, unless everyone bands together and applies for gas in the same year, we're going to be 2008 again, and in another couple of years, we're going to be meeting here again.
Would you repeat that again, please? Seriously.
Everyone who is interested in gas, and it is not the same people all the time, has never been enough to bring gas to Cumberland Head. Cumberland Head was scoped out in the original franchise agreement. We've contacted people several times. People contact us all the time. You know, I live in this area. I like to put gas pipe in the ground. I try to do whatever I can. There has never been enough people to make the economics make this a legal and viable project. I would suggest if you are remotely interested in gas or having it any time in the future, that you obtain some sort of appliance and try to put it in, not necessarily this year. In all honesty, the scope of this project wouldn't be till next year anyway. You know, at this point, with services, everything else, we're approaching $1 million. That's going to have to put into a budget item, things of that sort. I don't see that happening in springtime. But if, say, everyone were to come together and we can get approvals and start moving forward and say plan for next year, if everyone were to sign up that was interested, that is the only way this is going to happen, because of the people that are interested in any one given year, it has never happened. I don't expect this year to be any different unless people say, okay, well, I might not be ready yet, there's a couple more years left on my furnace, maybe I can get something else, maybe I'll do this. It's going to take some sacrifice from as much you guys as it is us, just based on everything that we've all done before has not worked yet.
How many names do you need out here?
I am guessing roughly 200 based on what I heard from...
Question, please.
How many names do you need out here in Cumberland Head?
Thank you. Because we don't hear the questions.
Okay, maybe we can pick up our project a little bit.
I'm going to guess roughly somewhere around 200. I don't know what the numbers were last time. It doesn't exactly pertain to this time because as different customers apply, we may have to change the scope of what we build. The franchise is also limited on the Head, but we do have a petition to the PSC for an unlimited franchise in the town of Plattsburgh. That's what the hearing at Clinton was back in December or early January, I can't remember which. I'm expecting that to go through. Then we're no longer limited to, I think it was only a couple hundred feet past Champlain Park, and I believe it was even less limited heading the other way. But once that goes through, we're unlimited. As far as franchise, we can't go back lot. We'd be restricted to public rights-of-ways with the main, but that's along the road. And again, if we're trying to use other facilities' trenches, that's where we'd mostly be anyway.
Bill, I got a question for you. In terms of The commitment, that seems to be a big issue when you're talking about commitment. What is a commitment? Is it the first survey? Is it the second survey? Is it the website? And is it legally binding? Can you explain that so we have that clear in our minds and people understand that when you sign your name to that sheet that says, I'm interested, that doesn't mean you're going to end up in jail if you decide not to go with gas.
Gotcha.
What is the commitment? What does that mean?
First of all, NYSEG started with the survey. The survey is very helpful to our marketing department to figure out where there's interest and focus on that to see what people can do to get notifications. Notifications is the old service orders. That's when you call the 800 number and say, can I please have gas? And they give you this great big long number and you're on hold for a little while. I'll apologize for that ahead of time. It is necessary. That is what enables me to spend money to give you your 100 feet. So the survey is very important, gives NYSEG a clue of where to focus their marketing efforts. If I'm going to be able to do anything for you, you need to call the 800 number and you need to put in a notification.
What if they got a survey already in the mail? Like
The survey means nothing. It says right on it, there's no commitment. You can fill it out. It's not binding. It's
Just
kind of like a
gives us a
petition.
direction.
It's you signing your name to it. No one knows how to find you.
But if
again.
they've already done that, if they've already done that, right, then
Right.
there's no need to call the 800 number?
I would, yes. The survey is important to marketing.
Okay.
If you're building a house, you can fill out surveys or petitions all day long, but until you call the gas company and ask for gas, you will never have gas. So, I would suggest, although the survey is helpful, if you are serious about getting gas, especially on the Cumberland Head, because we're already kind of forming a project on this, that you call the 800 number and start a notification.
What is the number?
We can write that down.
The number, if you want to write it down, is 1-800.
I do.
It's kind of redundant, but you have to remember,
572.
572?
It's 1111. 1111.
That's hard.
1-800
1111.
572 1111.
If you had the
You know-
service on the back, it's on the bottom of the survey.
That's the number to call.
perfect. Now, it's kind of redundant, but, you know, again, the survey doesn't scare anyone. They're asking questions, and you send it back, and you get those all the time. The notification is more specific. It actually means more to me and the engineering group, because it's tied to your electric bill. We know you're a real person. I remember we were trying to do a road in Katyville, and I had a petition mailed to me. We want gas, and there was 15 signatures on there, which is odd because there's only 13 houses out there. People are signing the dog's name. The surveys are kind of like that. Notifications, you are a real customer. NYSEG knows you exist. You have a house, generally an existing electric account, unless you're in the city. It means more. They are going to mail you a gas packet, and this is generally where the animosity starts. Of those things, there's load sheets that people generally won't know how to fill out. Your contractor would generally do that anyway. And it's not as important for a house because you're going to get a typical house meter. If you're Schluter, I need to size your service and your meter. It's not a cookie cutter type thing. It's a little more important. And there's a letter of commitment. Everyone hates the letter of commitment. It says commitment on it. It scares people. First of all, this early in the process, you don't need to sign that anyway. We're just trying to see if we can get a proper amount of numbers to footages ratio to see what we can do and make it free. History tells us if it's not free, it's going to fall apart, so that's what we're shooting for at this point. Secondly, if you actually read the letter of commitment, the only thing it's committing you to is if we install your service, and then you say, you know, I was kidding, I think I want propane. We're going to send you the bill for the cost of your service only. We hire a contractor to put them in. It has been Decatherm up until this year. It's gone out to bid. I don't have the results yet. We should know that within a week or two. Typically, we still deal with the same people. They just work for whatever company has the contract. Whatever they give us a bill is what we would hand to you. So even by signing the letter of commitment, you have till the day that they come out and put a shovel in your lawn to cancel. And even then, it only commits you to not necessarily take gas, but you're committed to deciding you want to use the gas if we've already put the service in and everything is hooked up and ready to go. And you say, okay, now I will either take gas or sorry, I changed my mind, here is the money. And I mean, you're looking at average somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000, depending if we have to cross the road typically or not. But you're not committed by signing now for all eternity, because we don't even have a gas main here yet. You obviously can't commit to using something that I can't commit that I'm going to definitely bring to you. So it's not as scary, and it's not all binding by any means. It is definitely dependent upon my ability to get gas to you. And it's also dependent on, you could sign a letter of commitment saying, I want gas. I would come out to your house, assuming we have the mains in place and we're much, much further along than we are now, and say, oh, I'm sorry, you're 600 feet off the road, it's going to cost you this much money. Oh, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, I can cancel your notification and we can throw away your letter of commitment. You're still not bound to anything. Until it's actually built, you're not committed to anything. And NYSEG, if there's going to be a charge for your service, they're going to ask for it first.
When you say built, Bill, do you mean that when it get onto your property, when NYSEG enters your property and starts putting a line on your property?
Yes.
That's when you're liable, or you have to pay for that for that
Yes.
digging, whatever it is whatever you're doing. And you have a question, Miss?
Yeah, I live in Champlain Park, and we were a big part of this push the last time. And now you're talking about the whole head. And what happens if you get enough people who commit that aren't in Champlain Park? Will you still run to those of us in Champlain Park, or will you bypass us?
We will run to wherever the interest is enough to build.
So if there's not enough interest in the park, we will get bypassed.
Yes, but in honesty, Champlain Park is very dense. The 100-foot rule actually supplies other footage to make up for that distance in here. Champlain Park is actually one of the only ways that this is going to happen. So I don't ever see Champlain Park being left out.
Okay,
I see people on the other end. We may have to draw a line in the sand and say, sorry, with Champlain Park here, customers that are kind of densely populated here, at this point we're going to build to here and stop. Once it is here, then in the consecutive years we may try to build out a couple hundred feet at a time based on customer interest. But Champlain Park is going to be a primary motivator for getting gas out to the head. So I wouldn't be scared of you being left behind, but theoretically, yes, if nobody asked for gas in Cumberland Head, everyone else asked for it, we had the footages, then we would leave it behind. We can only bring gas where people are asking for it. But in your particular circumstance, I don't see that being an issue in Champlain Park.
Because I was just part of the whole thing in 2008,
And it was
really
close.
rather not fill out all those papers again, only to be told no.
Yeah.
And I'll apologize for that ahead of time, but it is the only way it's ever going to happen.
All right, well, I'll fill out the papers.
And at this point, I can't even guarantee that it is going to
You have a
happen.
question here?
Could you give us some sort of rough estimate, and this is probably what's really going to decide for people, you know, this year especially, fuel oil has been very high. A lot of people are afraid it's not going to go down or go down much. If you have natural gas, how much does it take if you have to reconvert, you have to buy a new gas furnace, right?
You don't have to buy a new one,
How do
no.
you do that? What does it cost?
I would recommend it, but you don't have to. As far as costs, we probably let a lot of that go to you as far as commodity. And what Marilyn's going to talk to you is about some of the rebates that NYSEG is offering.
Okay.
You do have the ability on most furnaces to change the gun. 4 bolts, the main gun comes out, you can put a new one in. Not my favorite of installations because of efficiency issues. Because natural gas is so much cheaper than oil, you will still save money regardless, but you're basically running a fuel through a device that it was not made for. The heat exchangers, instead of being stainless steel, are now cast iron. It's the flue temperatures are different. You might have to reline your chimney. And it's probably still going to cost you roughly $1,500 to put a burner in. If you buy a brand new furnace, you're looking at well over twice that much money. But NYSEG's now giving furnaces, and I cannot be sure, and you would definitely want to check with your tax professional, but there used to be tax incentives for buying high efficiency gas appliances. So between the tax incentives, which you would have to wait till tax time to get back, so you would be out of pocket for a duration of time, and the rebates that NYSEG's offering, it's almost the exact same price to get a high 90% efficient furnace with a warranty versus doing something to your furnace that would void all warranties and lose a little bit of efficiency.
There is
You would
a,
use the same ductwork though.
yes.
Yeah.
There is a tax rebate from the IRS on your 1040. I don't know if it's probably a deduct. I checked with our CPA firm, Bob Frenier. He said that 30% of the cost of the equipment, up to $150 for that specific year. And for other equipment, you got another $150, up to $500 lifetime deduction, okay? So you can get 30% of the cost of the unit you put in the conversion unit. It's going to cost you whatever 30% of that of your cost is $150. You can use it as a deduct for that year, for 2013. Next year, maybe you'll want to convert your hot water or your stove. You can get 30% of that cost and deduct that. But the lifetime deduction is 500 cap. My suggestion is call your CPA or talk to Abbott, Frenier, Russell, or whoever you use, and see what they recommend. But I'm pretty sure those are pretty hard figures. 30% of the cost for that heating unit, and I believe it's got to be a. I don't know if it's, I think it's got to be the whole unit. It can't be a conversion.
It can be a conversion kit, but it's typically there's efficiency ratings of, I believe, 92% efficient or higher, and you won't achieve that by changing the burner. So you're looking at definitely buying a new furnace for that.
And then we do have rebates for the new equipment, and this is just for new equipment. And the efficiencies are anywhere, depending on whether it's a hot air furnace or a boiler, the efficiencies are 85 or 82 to 90%. And the rebates are anywhere from $140 to $1,000, depending, again, on the type of unit, the efficiency. And this information is on NYSEG.com. I also have some copies up here. After the meeting, you can stop up and get one if you're interested in looking at that. If you go to NYSEG.com, there's 4 boxes across the bottom, and one is energy efficiency incentives. You click into there, and then it's residential natural gas rebates, find out more. If this project goes forward, you have to get an actual electronic reservation to save your rebate in your name, so that once your furnace or boiler is done, then you can fill out the paperwork, which they'll send to you, and get your rebate. So that is available and really does help with the cost of your job. And again, this is for new equipment only.
The other thing, could you give us an idea, say if we all know what fuel oil is costing now, so say if you used 1,000 gallons, what would that equate, so we know what that would cost? That costs almost $4,000 the way the market is now with fuel oil. What would be the comparable, do you think, cost for natural gas?
$4,444.
Wow.
It says it on your website.
Right.
Really?
I did last night.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
$4.
We have it here, okay.
Well,
Excuse me.
did you get the survey? You got the survey paperwork. Because it actually gives you a chart to give you an idea where the cost of fuel oil, propane, electricity, and natural gas. And we're talking about roughly a third, well, around a third of the cost of what you're paying
Do you have an
now.
extra graph?
I don't, but we can pass this around.
Natural gas is always less than half the cost of oil. Sometimes it approaches third, but it really depends on your usage because the price of natural gas changes with the amount you use. So, of course, somebody selling it would say, once you get it, use as much as you can. But it actually does, because the first tier you pay for is the most expensive. After that, it's cheaper. So the more you're into the second tier, the cheaper it would be. I can tell you, I live in Peru on Bear Swamp Road, and my house, rough equivalencies, I pay generally, depending on the time of year, anywhere between $1.50 to $1.60, 65. Maybe in January, equivalent to gallons per dollars per gallon.
Is a gallon of fuel oil equivalent to a gallon of natural gas?
No, that's equivalent because there's much more BTUs in a gallon of oil. That's the equivalent price.
Okay.
So when you take the lack of BTUs in natural gas and do the math comparing them to the BTUs in oil, the equivalent, because we don't even sell it by the gallon, we sell it by the therm. But it equates to generally somewhere between $1.50 and $1.60 a gallon. Sometimes in January, if there's high demand, it might get up to $1.65. I built my house in 2007, and I've never paid $1.70 yet.
And there's some other bonuses too. Natural gas burns very, very clean, so you cut down on some of the maintenance that you have. It's delivered right to the door. You know, there still are some fluctuations in the cost, you know, a little bit higher in the winter, lower in the summer, as far as the cost per therm because of the, you know, the weather. But, you know, there are other advantages to switching as well.
I've got some questions. I need clarification. I have a oil burner I installed 4 years ago. It's a Buderis, really nice, an Italian gun in there, right, whatever it is. Highly efficient, 88%, 89% efficiency. Now,
I don't consider that high myself. But go ahead.
Pardon me?
I don't consider that high myself.
For oil it is.
For oil it is, yes.
Yes. Now, if I convert that and get a gas gun in there, will I be able to reach that same, that threshold efficiency
Not in a
what you
million
mentioned?
years.
What?
Not in a million years.
Not in a million years.
You're
So
running natural
I'll
gas
never reach
through-
90%? Is that what I need to reach to get a rebate?
No, you cannot buy a burner and qualify for the rebates anyway.
Rebates new
But if you're
equipment.
shooting for 88% efficiency on something made for oil and you change it to natural gas, you're looking somewhere between 80 and 82 at the best efficiency you're going to get out of that.
Wow.
Because the fuel is less than half the price, you will still save a lot of money,
Yeah.
but you will not be maximizing on the savings as compared to if you put a furnace in, and at my house I'm running 98 point something or other percent efficiency.
Fantastic.
That's why I don't recommend the burner conversions.
Do you recommend any specific gas burners or any type of units?
No, that's the sort of thing that gets me sued.
Right. That's something you want to shop
You have to check
around.
with your local contractor on that.
Okay. Do you have any contractors? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Let's answer.
We're talking switching from fuel to the natural gas, and that's good. I don't have fuel. I have one kerosene monitor. I have a heater, which is propane, which is fireplace, and a propane stove. What is the efficiency in the propane stove and the propane gas heater I have, fireplace, in switching? Is it the same as what you're saying the fuel is? I'm going to have to buy all new equipment? Or because I'm already using propane, is that switch conversion?
Kerosene is the
Simple.
worst. That's even more expensive than oil.
Right. Excluding
Anything
that.
propane can be converted very easily to natural gas for the most part. There's a few that don't. Most of them generally come with the equipment to switch back and forth, and they're taped inside the cover. A lot of times the regulator, take a screw out, flip it
Yes.
over, change the spring, and then
Yes.
boom, it's magically ready for natural gas. Stoves just have little brass fittings that looks like carburetor jets. You just change the orifices out, you're ready for natural gas.
So the efficiency will be the same, as you imply with changing just a conversion from the fuel oil, your efficiency is decreased, so you should just get new equipment.
Those were boiler and hot air furnace statements only. As far as cooking equipment,
And the fireplace.
you'll notice there's really no such thing as a high efficiency cooking equipment.
Okay. The furnace,
Its
I
whole
have.
purpose is to just throw heat out, and you heat your room just as well as that pot of boiling water. As far as fireplaces, well, again, they're designed mostly to look pretty. They do make some very high efficient ones. It will be usually within 1 or 2 percentages of original manufacturer, assuming you put original manufacturer parts in there for the conversion. So almost identical.
Thank you.
Is there a large market for used oil burners? I mean, collectively, we could all market our oil burners and maybe sell them to, you know.
I am not aware of any. You may want to check with your contractor.
Craigslist.
I get back to the question about service areas. I know that groups of people like Champlain Park and the main road are obvious candidates for being serviced. Many of us are not on the main road. We're not in a cluster. Along the lake, for example, there's a distance between the main road and the lake road where there are a lot of houses. How do we kind of get a feeling for where you're going to be going? We'd like the gas, but we're not really sure that...
You won't have a feeling, and if you wait to get a feeling, I can guarantee you will never have gas.
No, but I mean,
We
right
need
now-
everyone to apply that is interested. I will get to as many people as I can, but there will be a point where I have to draw a line in the sand and say, this is the project we're going with. this is how I can serve the vast majority of people with the interest I have so far, which is why I want to see everyone that's interested, because we will try to get to those places. We may have to get to the point and say, okay, we're stopping here, and then maybe next year or the year after, we can try and refocus and say, now what can we do to get to these other people? Because, I mean, if you're all the way on the end, chances are you won't be in the original project. I don't see enough to go completely all the way around the head, all in 1 year. That's just a lot of construction to do when you throw the services on there. Like anything else, even like the original franchise will have phases.
Will you get noticed though? If like you stop at one point, will the ones that are past that point get noticed saying, sorry, we couldn't make it to you, but we're going to try keep the franchise for next year? Or do you just not know, you're in limbo?
In the beginning, because it'll fluctuate, you won't really know. When we actually draw the line in the sand, and this is if it's even coming, mind you, there is no definite it's coming yet. Once we have a set plan, I'm guessing, as this 5 or 6 person meeting kind of took off, things will get around exactly where the start and stop points will be. We would also communicate that with the town and obviously with yourself. I don't know if there would be a meeting of this sort about that, but I'm not opposed to it either.
We could have.
Just realize that it's not going to be next week. This is going to take some time to put together. We tried this once before, and the official answer was no. So as far as NYSEG is concerned, the answer is still no. We're just trying to change their mind and show that there is sufficient interest and rules met of the tariff to make this happen. So it's going to take a little time. But I'm willing to try if you guys are.
Okay, Bill, I was hoping also that you had an opportunity to set up a meeting after this with Eric Anderson, who is here. He's on the Board of Education from Beacontown Central School, and he wants to discuss with you some of the numbers and crunch some numbers and see if we can get an opportunity to convince the school, Mr. Amo and his people, to convert the middle school here on Cumberland Head.
I will definitely chat with you afterwards. That's more of a commercial thing, so it probably doesn't pertain as much to this.
Right.
But I will definitely chat with you, and I'll tell you the same thing I told Mr. Amo, is I would call every school in the area that has gas and see if they're happy with it. I have schools threatening to sue me if I don't bring the gas.
I'll state up and quickly. I think one of the numbers crunches that we have to look at is from, I know right now natural gas is extremely low, so from our standpoint, it's a much more significant investment to convert, for example, our boilers to natural gas. So trying to understand, I know right now natural gas is very cheap, but what is the historical price been, and what's that difference been between our fuel and is that something you can help us with, or is that something we have to do on our own, or how would we go about it? We
can help you. I'd also encourage you that if you were looking to put forth an investment, that you wouldn't necessarily take the opinion of the people trying to sell it to you. I would definitely call the other schools, see what's going on. Gas prices typically don't move much. They have actually come down, if anything, especially on the wellhead prices, because there's a glut in the Northeast with more gas than we know what to do with. We're trying to find ways to get it to other places now. High 80% of America already heats with it, so this sudden Northeast push to develop places like Maine and New Hampshire, Connecticut, upstate New York isn't going to really change the national demand, so that's not going to raise the price. To utilize natural gas, and if we ever switch CNG to our vehicles and start using natural gas instead of cars, that will increase the demand and price can go up.
Okay, so
I'm not marketing, so
you get together after this meeting so that we don't, there's a lot of residential people. Okay, thank you.
Is Moffett Road involved in this at all?
No. Moffett Road right now is Beekmantown. To my understanding, there might be a section of
sections in town flats. As a matter of fact, the main runs 400 feet from my house.
Okay, so I apologize then. We are also trying to get a franchise for Beekmantown simultaneously with this project. A lot going on right now. Everyone wants gas. But if you are in the town of Plattsburgh, as of right now, Moffett Road is not in the franchise. But again, we petitioned the Public Service Commission to give us an unlimited franchise, which means what I'm hoping by mid to late summer, you will be in the franchise of this year. If you're 400 feet from the gas main, you get 100 feet for free. If you have 3 neighbors that want it, I can get it to you for free this year. If you're willing to pay some, I can get it to you for that cost this year.
This is the main that comes in heavy.
What's that?
This is the main that comes in from Canada.
Okay, that is not ours, so I can't serve you from that. My main is on Route 9.
Could you explain a little bit, clarify this franchise concept? It's not a franchise with the town of Plattsburgh, it's a franchise granted through Public Service Commission?
Right.
What is that? What does it do?
When we applied for the franchise, the town was very gracious, gave us an unlimited franchise that can go anywhere you want. You're the gas company, we have faith in what you do, here you go. We need to take that and file a petition to exercise with the State Public Service Commission. Along with that, we need environmental studies, endangered species studies, archaeological reviews, and there's another one that I can't remember, all of which costs money, and we need to give that to the state. Now, after that it gets a little confusing, and I'm sure it boils down to a few other things of we probably didn't want to pay for all those studies for all areas if there was nobody involved. And on top of that, the Public Service Commission deems what's in our best interest for areas to serve. We also need to prove that there's a financial payback on that. So again, our investment into a franchise doesn't cause our rates to go up and hurt existing ratepayers. After all the negotiations are done, we end up with a map that says you can go here. It doesn't match the franchise that the town gave us. That's a legal document that says we can go anywhere. The one for Plattsburgh was labeled MDE-1, and it is a very definitive road map with highlighted areas of where I can and can't go. Moffett Road is not one of them. Cumberland Head is, but not the entire road. And not the connector road, because that road didn't exist then. So if I wanted to utilize the connector road, until I get the unlimited franchise, which we're pretty sure we're going to get, I would have to do all the studies and reviews to be anywhere near that connector road. We have the same problem with subdivisions because they're new roads, they don't exist, so they weren't in the original franchise.
A lot of that environmental impact work has been done. I mean, when they put out the McDonough Highway.
Yes.
And some of the other lines that the town put in, they did a tremendous amount of environmental impact studies. Phil Von Bargen and all those people and the planning board. So I would think that a lot of that information is on file and available. You have a question over here.
Yeah, I was just asking, when is the deadline for people calling that 1-800 number? I got either 200 or somewhat votes.
There is never a drop dead date on this. People have been calling in for years. As far as this project's concerned, we started getting phone calls and the notifications are still active from around November. Normally every January or so, the previous year's notifications that didn't amount to anything that we could build get canceled out so they don't keep building up. At this point, we will keep taking notifications until basically everyone gets cranky and says we need to know something, and then we draw the line in the sand and see if we have a project. If it was today, we will not be bringing gas to Cumberland Head, so we're going to leave it open for a little while longer.
March 14th was
for the surveys.
For the
Well, the survey, yes, is tomorrow.
Again, I go by notifications, and I'm shooting for more of a next year springtime start construction because there's a lot of work to get gas to Cumberland Head.
So once again, if everybody just about raised their hand in here saying they sent in the survey, but those folks should then pick up the phone and call that 800 number because they want to notify you that they're serious about gas.
Yes.
You will never get gas unless you call the gas company and ask for gas. The surveys are nice, but you will never get gas until you ask the gas company for it.
Well, who are the surveys? That's confusing though. I mean, who are the surveys going to? Isn't it the gas company?
The surveys are very helpful, and I definitely recommend you fill them out. What's that?
The surveys are helpful to you, or
they're helpful to marketing because then they will focus their interest and try and get more.
So we got multiple heads on the dragon here, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. If you ask NYSEG in an official capacity and say, is the survey all we need right now, they're probably going to say yes.
Okay.
I am saying if you want to double up and make sure you can get gas, you call the notification.
If you're a short ways away from a line, just a little bit over 100 feet, what would it take, person-wise, household-wise, to get it to your house?
If you are more than 100 feet away...
I am 183 feet.
So if you're 183 feet, you get 100 feet for free.
Yes.
Your choice is to get a neighbor, assuming they're not 100 feet past you.
Right.
And that free allowance would work towards you. Or you could go on a surcharge type agreement where you can pay lump sum up front or go on a payment plan. If you go on the payment plan and somebody else hooks up, it's a complicated process, but basically you would get your money back.
So if I had one beyond me, then I could get the 83 feet?
It depends how far behind you they are.
No, they're just
Next door.
next door,
Yes,
50 feet away.
yes, 2 customers, you get 200 feet.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, lady against the wall.
Excuse me.
How do you regionalize these projects? In other words, if other people in the town of Plattsburgh could not use up the 100-foot main allowance, can that be applied to
No.
all Cumberland Head?
By law and tariff, it needs to be one contiguous piece of pipe. So pretty much all of Cumberland Head I can use because we're building down this one road and branching off. I can make this into one large project. Even then, it's kind of a gray area to take somebody from, say, Champlain Park and put it out towards the school. But if they allow me to geographically lump everything into Cumberland Head, that's one thing. I can't take somebody from Katyville and use their footage here. That's totally against the rules. I know. I tried it.
You said you got a question over here too?
Yeah, well, I got more of a statement. If anybody's thinking about it, I converted a few years ago. I lived right off the 10 Miller Road. I had kerosene monitors.
Yes.
I might have used 500 gallons roughly. So if you went with $4 a gallon, which it's higher than that now, that's $2 grand. My highest month last year was $135.
Whoa. Yeah.
My son lives in Peru. He can't get natural gas. He's got a raised ranch. I got a raised ranch. If he used 400 gallons of oil in any one month, and my bill was $135.
Not to interrupt, but one of the things that we're applying for besides Plattsburgh is an unlimited franchise in Peru. So give me a year and tell them to apply and I'll see if I can get there.
So I mean, it was definitely a plus. It doesn't take you long to recoup your money.
No.
The bottom line, Bill, what you're saying is that everybody's got a survey, but they have to commit themselves to a notification application.
The survey helps greatly.
Yes.
I will not
It just
undermine
shows
NYSEG's ability to send these things out and say how important they are. What I'm telling you is my ability for me to bring you gas relies on you calling in that notification. I will not say anything bad about other efforts.
Well, I feel now
But it does give us an idea of where.
We got a question over here, Paul. You got a question?
Is that your line?
Wait a minute, let this lady speak.
Well, I was just saying, I mean, this is a wonderful meeting here, but I know neighbors on both sides of me are not here, and I think they would hear, but they're still working. So I think would be a good thing to have the
Good point. What we're
meeting
going to do, what we're doing here is this is going on video, and we're going to put this on Charter Cable 15, Channel 15, and it's going to run starting, Debbie, next week?
Whenever they can figure out where they're going to put it on. But
Whenever they can
hopefully next
figure
week.
it out.
But it will be on our website.
It will be on the website also. Here's the website, www.cumberlandheadta, stands for taxpayerassociation.org, and that will also have the video of today's meeting, as well as Cable 15.
Well, whenever cable decides to get it on.
Well, Channel 15. So if the people you're talking about, sorry?
One other suggestion is because I don't know all my neighbors, I don't know if they're interested, and they don't know it's going to be on Channel 15. As one of you from the Taxpayer Associations, me write a letter to the editor with this information in it.
Well, the press is supposed to be here today. I don't know if they are. They're not here.
Surprise, surprise.
We will follow up on that. That's a good idea. Thank you.
You still can answer that question that I asked earlier. The surveys say by tomorrow, have this in by tomorrow, but if we go around and kind of like talk to our neighbors about this and try to get them convinced that it's a good idea, are we wasting our time if this ends the 14th? Or, I mean,
Tell them to send them in.
They're not going to throw them away if they get them in late.
Yeah.
So
Tell them to send them in.
if your question is it going to do as much good if it's before the 14th? I can't promise you that. Is it going to do more good than sitting in someone's trash? Definitely.
And I know for a fact that we are getting.
The 800 number is what will allow me to give you 100 feet of gas main. The survey is very important to a lot of people. I will never build anything unless people call in notifications.
So let me ask you this in a different fashion. If you have two choices, fill out a survey or call that 800 number, Which one is the more important?
All
Which one is the
800.
more important?
All 800.
No,
If you
one
call
or
in
the
a
other.
survey
Okay.
with the mindset that you're never going to call in a notification, then the survey is useless.
Say yes or no.
Call the number.
That's the number we need.
You have to remember, NYSEG sent you the survey. I'm not going to say anything bad about the survey, and it is very useful. What I am saying is, in order for me to bring you gas, I need notifications.
Mr. Carter, isn't there a way online to do the notification?
Yes, there is.
Because it seems to me that I went online a couple of weeks ago, I filled out a form and a dude came to my house. Yes. A dude came to my house because I had notified them that I wanted gas.
Generally
And then I
speaking,
got the commitment letter in the mail.
generally speaking, I'm the only one in town that would come to your house to spot a gas service, and if you're on the head,
I do.
You said that you thought there might be something.
and I haven't come to anyone's.
He thought it was electricity I wanted.
Okay, so
They probably sent an electric planner out thinking.
And he
you wanted
came out and I
electric
said,
service.
no, I had wanted gas, that I had signed up online, and he said, oh, okay, he talked to you.
You hit the wrong button on the
I guess.
website.
But you can do this online as well.
NYSEG.com, there's a way to do it. Marilyn can talk you through it. I try to stay with it.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Right here in the.
That guy's been waiting for a while. Too,
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
So,
Is that your line or your franchise on Wallace Hill?
Yes, that is our line.
Because I live in a small development, you know where Smoky Ridge Road is?
Yes.
I live on Smoky Ridge Road, there's what, probably 15, 20 homes. I'm the second one, I'm probably a couple hundred feet from the main going up Wallace Hill.
If you ask for it along with some of your neighbors, as of right now, you would have a good chance. If you're one of the first few houses that is in our franchise, we actually attempted to go up Smoky Ridge back when we did Wallace Hill back in, was it 2002, 2004, something like that. But we hit a whole bunch of rock ledge and we stopped because we actually had no interest up there at the point. We were just heading that way because it was part of the original franchise. We were beating up our equipment and said, nobody's up here's even asked for it yet, and we stopped. If you call in a notification and ask, we can definitely try
I
again.
called the number on the survey and I got a job reference number already, they give to me. Where does it go from there?
Oh, it'll go to me. Normally, when you put in notification, within a couple days, we call you back, see if it's something you're really interested in, see if you're even close enough to get gas. If you're 3 miles away, and unless you have a couple $100,000 laying around, you're probably not going to get gas. You're much closer, that sort of thing. I can honestly tell you it's going to take longer to hear from me this year. Besides the 600 surveys that have already been received, I already have 400 notifications for gas. I'm going to be busy, and it is going to take me longer to get back to you guys. I will call.
Does that reference number mean you are going to? Or do I have to contact you?
They're going to send you that packet of information. What I would suggest is fill out the letter of commitment, because again, it doesn't commit you to anything until we actually build it. That releases your job off hold, and we can actually design something to see if it's free or if there's going to be costs, or if it's something where there's not enough people, but there's some houses near you, and I can give it to Marilyn and say, the buck is yours, and see if she can round up some of your neighbors.
Yes, ma'am. You got a question here?
Yes, I filled out all the information, all the packets, all the letter of commitment, etc. in 2008. But I need to redo that
Yes.
now.
We would have canceled all those
Thank you for the
This
clarification.
gentleman over here has a question.
How important is it that Cumberland Head Elementary become part of this project? Does that give it a big boost, or is that not really an issue?
Schools are wonderfully inefficient. In fact, that the doors are always opening and closing. The amount of oil or fuel resources that they use is astronomical. I remember they're close to 83,000 gallons for the one out here and like 200,000 gallons for the big one in Beekmantown. In 2008, if they asked for it, there would be gas on Cumberland Head already.
So your answer is they're very important to this project. Or they would bump the project ahead.
Right.
Yes, they definitely would help. They will never hurt. That's not to say that we can't do it without the school, but it shaves the amount of people we need a great deal.
Does it extend? Again, you spoke about Champlain Park being densely populated. and then you could only reach so far, probably past, you know, in less populated areas. Does the school make it so that area, so you can encompass more people in your original project?
I am willing to propose and fight for, I have a fairly good success rate of it. If the school were to sign up in the fire station and I have a lump sum of commercial load that drops a bunch of residential load off, basically the equivalent of saying I can build X amount of feet to build all X amount of feet on Cumberland Head. Up to the point where I won't go down a road if not a single person is asked, which is why it's important to call in notifications. Even if you're the only one on the road, as long as it's one contiguous piece of pipe, I have the legal right to use the strength of other numbers to try and get to you. You know, so if everyone goes in 1 year, which is what I'm trying to push for, then I can use the strength of others to help you. If nobody on the road wants it, I'm going down to the next road where somebody does. But we're not just going to build to the school and say, so long, we're leaving you. If I have free allowances left and there's some houses past there, I will do everything I can to build as much as I can.
Bill, let me call on Eric and see, maybe you can explain a little bit what you're doing as a member of the school board with this study group, looking at proposal. I assume there's something in the pipeline on that.
Yeah, well, we've had some discussions because as you mentioned earlier, Beekmantown has been looking to get a franchise, so we've actually done some work at the main building in Beekmantown. What it would come down to really is it's going to be a financial decision that the school would have to make. So we have to look at, you know, what are we spending now on our fuel oil, and looking at it historically, because obviously the last 2 winters have been very mild. What have been the historical natural gas prices, and then what would be the cost of conversion. And while we can do a cost of our conversion, then we have to figure out what are there any additional costs to bring that to bring it to us. So once we have those kind of numbers, then we can figure out, you know, whether it take us 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, how long would it take us to recoup something like that?
Yeah, something like that, similar to what Prue did, is you're looking at a bond issue. You're going to be getting a bond to pay for it, because I'm guessing you don't have that kind of cash laying around. And you're basically seeing if your fuel savings will actually make the payments on the bond so that there's no money out of your pocket, and when that pays off, because after the bond is paid for, then that's all money that goes in your pocket. That's usually how the other schools have handled it.
And sometimes this, I don't know enough about all the finances as far as school district stuff goes, but I think this may be considered like a capital project, and so there may be a potential that we may be going towards the voters and saying, we're interested in doing this, we would like to do it, this is how much it would cost to do this, we would like to get your approval to do it, and then that would be, you know, we would pay for that through a bond, similar to what we've done in the past for some of these other construction projects that we've done. But right now, it's a matter of collecting that information so that as a
usually speaking, the fuel savings is enough to pay for the bond, so it's usually something that won't cost you any money out of pocket.
Any initial cost though, from our financial standpoint, from the school district standpoint, they may still have to go out and ask for voter approval, even though our budget's not going up. We're doing a capital project, we may have to request that.
So there is a study in process that I want people to understand. There is a study in process. Nobody has slammed the door and said no in the school district. The superintendent is somewhat open-minded to this.
I think in general, we've had discussions with them before. We've had, a lot of the problem has been that commitment letter, because, you know, as you can imagine, the school, it's a lot different when you as a resident say, I'm willing to commit, and no, I'm not worried about. The school, it's a whole different matter where we don't want to get, you know, obviously stuck with the bill.
We had a whole meeting with the Beekmantown school. I actually requested someone from the board show up, but it must not have gotten through. But we explained that to the school that the commitment letter is under no commitment until the day we show up with a backhoe ready to put your service in.
So I think what it's a matter of is we'll work on it. I guarantee you, I personally have committed to working on this. So.
Can you keep us posted here so that we're up to date? We let people know, because it seems like a deal breaker, deal maker, or at least will lubricate the deal positively in the future.
We came close without the school, so it's theoretical we can do it without the school this time. But you take like Peru, my hometown, that was never going to get gas until the school wanted it, and
is
that is what entitled.
Is there a commercial rebate involved?
Yes, there are commercial rebates.
I believe the state has something going on for schools too.
For new equipment.
We got another question over here.
I have more of a comment and a question to Eric. Eric, would it be really helpful to move the school board forward if a group of people like this showed up to a school board meeting and suggested that they would like to see the school board move forward?
I wouldn't definitely object to it. I can tell you right now, I personally have already said I'm committed to doing you know, the research to figure it out. My background is in statistics and mathematics, so I enjoy this stuff. And I'd like to see it, if it's financially feasible, obviously I'd like to see it occur. So I think, you know, if community members want to come forward and say, you know, we would like to see this, we are working hard on our end, is there anything we can do to help? You know, that side of the stuff is always definitely.
Well, I think it would help us if we had some numbers after you crunch that. It seems feasible. Even, you know, it's a borderline decision. Let us know. We can get down there and lobby.
What I would ask is, I mean, they did it for Beekmantown. I know it took lots of communications and discussions and everything else, but they agreed to it and have done it. So I wouldn't think it's a big deal for this one. But to call the 800 number and put in a request for gas service, not even saying deal with the letter of commitment issue yet, because even though it doesn't commit you, if it does scare people, you can shelf that for later, but at least put in the inquiry. That lets me go to NYSEG and say, there's a school interested. And again, schools are big users. It definitely opens projects up more and allows me to dig a little deeper and spend a little more time on it.
They could become part of that 200 you speak of.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they count a whole lot more than just one.
Exactly. Well, it's beneficial. Yeah, it's beneficial.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of numbers, you said repeatedly this afternoon that if you had to make a decision today, you didn't have the numbers, you wouldn't have gas. I've heard 600 residents, 600 surveys have been returned earlier.
The surveys went out for the entire town, not just Cumberland Head.
And you're looking for 200 people from Cumberland Head.
I'm trying to guess from conversations I heard back in 2008, and I wasn't directly involved in this, so it's not a set number. I just seem to remember hearing that.
But do you know how far off the number you might be?
As of right now, no.
The survey's still coming to tomorrow.
Right.
Are those surveys or are those phone calls? You need 200 phone calls or 200 surveys?
The surveys are great. They're going to go in areas and say, we have a whole lot of interest. Let's see if we can get some more. When they have a whole bunch of interest, and they're going to come to you and say, we have enough interest, we can make this project go. Can you please call a notification now? Which is why I'm trying to just get you to do it now. One or the other is great, but again, I will never be able to bring you gas unless I have notification with your name on it.
So it's nice to do the survey, and it's kind of a nice thing to do, but call that number.
The survey is the proper step, so I can never tell you not to do it or it's not important.
Right, you can't say that.
But
there's the number we have to
between
call.
us, that is what will get you gas.
Very good. Any other questions? I think we're good. 2 o'clock. Somebody else have a question?
Well, I did this more from the school standpoint, and that's, I'm hearing as a resident, I can't count on the school to be considered a number. So it's like, we got to go for broke as residents, because I'm not heard a commitment from the school saying we will at least call in. So I've got to operate as if they're not coming along.
Yes. I think that's the safest way to go.
I would not rely on anyone. If you want gas, I would ask for gas. If you think your neighbor may want gas in the future, I would convince them to try and apply for gas. The school will help. The school will help immensely. But, you know, at this point, they have their own things. They have to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, protecting their budgets and everyone that deals with what they have to deal with. And again, I encourage them to look at other schools and don't take the gas company's word for how great gas is.
And likewise for the fire department,